What's up, Compete Training Academy family? Welcome to the Compete Mentality Podcast. The mission of the Compete Mentality Podcast is to motivate, educate, and inspire others to compete. No matter what area of life you are in, we are all called to compete. Our definition of competing is doing what God is calling you to do, even when it's hard. This episode of the Compete Mentality Podcast is sponsored by the Lewis Jackson and Jordan Delks Basketball School. Be looking for details coming in April on our social media avenues. It is now my absolute pleasure to introduce former Tri-Central legend and current head coach at Lakeland Christian, my guy, Jake Ritchie. Coach, thanks for joining us today, man.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Jake and I go way back, Compete Training Academy audience. We actually played against each other in high school. He was a tough guard for sure, and he was a tough-nosed defender as well, and really tipped my hat to the way he just played the game and just really respected him. I was listening to another podcast this past week, and who was it? I forget, but they said you can tell a lot by a person. You can tell a lot about a person by the way they play the game, and like just by the way Jake played the game. I'm like, I absolutely would love to have this guy on a podcast. He competes. He was never afraid to dive on a loose ball, take a gut-wrenching charge coming down the middle. And so, Jake, we welcome you to the podcast. And we'll just kind of dive right on in. Jake, we ask this question a lot at the beginning of podcasts just because we're trainers and a lot of people, ask us to hold them accountable on the court, off the court, in the area of nutrition. But for Courtney and I, we love trying out new restaurants, new food. And I know you're up north in the Warsaw area. And so give us your go-to restaurant right now and describe what you would order.
Yeah, so first thing, I love cooking. So I'm a big foodie also. When my wife and I first got together, she used to make fun of me all the time because I'd have it on like the Food Network channel, just watching everything, like getting kind of ideas and everything. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, last year I actually went out and bought a Pit Boss pellet smoker grill. So I've been doing a lot. So I've been doing a lot on that. My go-to thing on that is ribs. I love making ribs, man. But if I had to choose like a go-to restaurant up here, we got some killer Mexican places up here. La Troje in downtown Warsaw is really, really good. Stick it to pretty simple stuff there. Arroz con pollo.
Yep.
Little chicken and rice. If I had to go someplace else, we got a burger joint, Oak and Alley, just kind of craft burgers. They got one that's called the Peanut Farmer. Bacon, some Oak and Alley. Yeah.
Oak and Alley. Okay, I'm typing this down. So
yeah. They got a peanut farmer there, and the burger. It's got peanut butter on it. It's got like some arugula. They got like a plum reduction, so it's kind of like peanut butter and jelly on a burger.
For sure.
Spice it up a little bit with some jalapenos on there also.
Now we're talking.
Oh man, and it's delicious. It's delicious.
That reminds me a lot of a burger called the Schumann Special.
From Scotty's Brew House.
Yes.
Is
it similar?
Yeah. It's a little similar. The Schumann Special I don't think had the jelly on it.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, this one they throw that jelly in there. You get a little bit of sweetness on it.
Yeah. Our taste buds are similar. I picked up a Traeger last year, and the ribs are my favorite thing to do on the Traeger.
Oh yeah.
So common interest there, and
absolutely.
So today you're just rocking that IU gear, loud and proud, and so I want to get your thoughts on the new hire of Coach Woodson.
So I kind of gone back and forth over it, honestly. When the news first broke, I was like, they could have done worse. They could have done better, I thought. Yeah. The bad thing is when the news came out about them going after Stevens, I kind of knew regardless of who they hired, there was going to be a letdown in the fan base.
Yeah.
And I was never one that thought it had to be an IU guy. Just get the right guy in there. But now that they hired an IU guy, I'm like, all right, I get it now. We've struggled so long and we've gone away from kind of that tradition and kind of connecting the past to the present, and I think it's the right guy now. Especially they got Mata behind the scenes that can help kind of navigate Woodson through some of the intricacies of college coaching. And then hearing all of Woodson's former players just talk about him and what kind of coach he was and the relationships that they had, I'm like, all right, I think this is a dude that I think he can really do something for the program. So I'm all on board. And if we're gonna go IU route, let's just go all in. Let's hire, another one or two guys from previous teams and let's go all for it, like.
For sure. No, and so my next question would be, and I don't know, I haven't done my research to be honest with you. Are Woodson and Mata boys? Are they tight, or how'd that come about?
I don't know. I haven't really heard anything either on that aspect, but it kind of. I went back and listened to Scott Dolson, the AD, listened to his press conference after they fired Archie, and I feel like this was kind of his idea of what he wanted to do all along. Because in that press conference, he kind of mentioned, wanting to coach and then wanting somebody that's kind of like a CEO role of the basketball program.
Gotcha.
And I was like, when he first said that, I was like, I don't really know what he's talking. Like,
yeah, now
huh. Yeah. So it's like, I kind of feel like he kind of had something along this line in plan all along.
Right.
And Dolson's, I mean, he locked down Tom Allen on the football program.
Yeah.
He hasn't really given us any reason not to trust him yet.
Right.
And, I was wrong on the last two hires. I thought those were going to be our long-term things. And I was, thought those were home runs. So I think we just let this one play out and, and let the chips fall where they may, but I'm excited for it. And
sure.
I know there's one thing that Woody's not going to let an IU team do, and that's going to show up at Mackey Arena and come out flat,
Sure. Sure.
Being an IU guy, he knows what that rivalry is. So.
Yep, for sure. And no, I just asked that just because it was kind of, I mean, Coach Mata's name was thrown around there for the head job, and I was just curious. Like, it was just kind of bizarre, just that associate AD role or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
And so it made me wonder, and I was just curious on a diehard IU fan like yourself, what your thoughts were, if there's too many cooks in the kitchen, or how that's all going to play out.
I think Mata is gonna try and stay a little bit of hands off. I think he's gonna be there, like, if Woodson wants, to run anything by him. But I think he's just, I think he kind of has that itch and wants to be around a program, and whether it's a hands-on or a more behind the scenes type of thing, I think he's there for it. And who knows, it might be the start of something new in college basketball. I mean, Michigan kind of did it a little bit. They went and got Howard, who didn't really have a lot of experience, and then they did it more with a hands-on aspect, hiring Martelli as his associate head coach.
Right.
So this might just be, I don't know, maybe it's a way around that to where you're not using an assistant's position,
correct,
but still kind of having a head assistant that could be in the background. So
yeah.
I don't know. It might be something new.
yeah. No, that's great insight. No, I was curious on what a diehard IU fan was thinking right now. So I appreciate your insight there. And I can say this as a diehard Boilermaker, it's just more fun in the state when both programs are rocking and rolling, and the rivalry is as good as it gets. And so, we'll see how it plays out. And Coach, just kind of give us your background, just to kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, it started when I was little, man. I remember my dad used to play in City League games in Kokomo, that he used to, lug us to, and we were running around on the sidelines and everything. And then he started actually coaching some middle school ball when I was a little bit older, still in elementary school. And what was really cool is, and then watching some of those guys that he started coaching, go get into high school ball and going to the games and watching them. And man, the first games I can remember vividly going to were that Corey Dunn Tri-Central team and Brett Bailey and Matt Gaylor, and just those guys that I call, legends from Tri-Central.
Absolutely.
And
That's awesome.
That first year class basketball, man, they made it to like the Final Four. It was in Kokomo at Memorial Gymnasium, just a packed house, man. And I just remember being a little elementary kid, wasn't old enough to be in our cheer block section, so I'm up behind a rail, like just going crazy with my friends and stuff. And so it just kind of started like that. And then we would make a basket out of a coat hanger and hang it from our closet, or cut the bottom off of a shoebox to start playing ball in our rooms and stuff before we had a basket, and just fell in love with the game. And then growing up through Tri Central, I was lucky enough kind of in the golden era of basketball for Tri Central.
No doubt.
Just had a crazy atmosphere, man, like unlike anything I've ever really played in before. And just played with some unbelievable talent, Grayson Flitner, Kirk Cunningham, Dusty Driggs, like just that group of guys. It was just awesome. And then went and played 2 years of college ball over in Illinois. And after that, just kind of got out of the game for a little bit. And when we moved up here and settled down, I got the itch again.
Yep.
And just I sent out emails upon emails to schools around here in the area, boys and girls programs, just like, hey, you guys got any room for a volunteer assistant? Like I can come in whenever and just help out. And Lakeland reached out and they were like, yeah, absolutely. And just kind of went from there. So, and then last year was my first year as the head varsity coach. Wild year for my first year, but little different with all of COVID and everything going on, but we made it work. So
Absolutely. Now, how many years were you an assistant before you took the head job?
I was an assistant there for 2 years before. So my first year I was a volunteer assistant, and then the second year we actually had a JV. My first year we didn't have the numbers for a JV, super small school, so we just had varsity only. So then I was the JV head coach and varsity assistant. And then, this year was varsity head coach. So
very cool, and really appreciate you sharing your background there, Coach Ritchie. And I want to take bits and pieces from that story of what we're going to talk about today in the podcast. And I kind of want to first go back, like you said, it was the golden years of playing in Tri Central basketball, and you played with some absolute dogs, man. Like this. In a Hoosier Heartland Conference rivalry, me going to Rossville, Tri Central in the conference, and man, just having Tri Central on the schedule, that was a special game for us at Rossville. I mean, man, we're going against some absolute studs, and you guys had all the pieces, and you didn't lose many games in in that era for sure. So tell us a little bit about what it was like playing in those golden years in that era of Tri Central.
Man, it was unbelievable. There's a lot of 3 and 4A teams that don't have the talent that we had in those years. I mean,
no doubt,
to be at a 1A school where we got 50 to 65 kids per class, and we had 3 Division I players on the same team. Like, it's just unbelievable. And I use the term golden years, and Tri Central we had a long stretch of really good teams, because like I said, even going back to the beginning of class basketball, that 97 96 team, 96 all the way through 2007 2008 years and stuff. We just had a wealth of talent there. And man, we got into some battles in practice. We got into some battles in some games even. Because in that time, you got a target on your back. When you're ranked top 5 or number 1, everybody's giving you their best shot. And luckily we were able to answer the bell a lot of times. A few times we probably should have and we didn't. But it was just insane to watch some of those guys and the skill that they had. I was a decent player, but I could touch those guys. I mean, Flitner and Driggs pulling up from 30 feet, in a in a high school game, and then you can never teach height, but having Cunningham inside, I mean, you get those 2 guys on the outside, and then you got a 6'10" guy, and like, what a team's gonna do,
Right. And let me paint a picture for you guys. I got a lot of hoopers listening to this that I train, and I mean, this team. So Kirk Cunningham went to Boise State.
Yep.
On a 6'10", 300 pounds.
He was probably 260, 270. Yeah.
Big dude.
Oh yeah.
Big dude, strong as an ox. You
Oh
got
yeah.
you got Dusty Drix, who went on to play at the University of New Orleans.
Yep.
Did he finish there?
No, he finished at St. Leo
Okay.
in Tampa, Florida.
But goes to the University of New Orleans, Division I, transfers to St. Leo. He's a dog as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just an absolute dog. Cross you up like nobody's business.
Oh yeah, supremely confident player too. Like
yes, just the confidence that he had on the court was unbelievable. And then you had Grayson Flitner, who as a senior led the state in scoring, close to 30 points a game, if I remember right, 29 point something.
Yep.
And who's arguably the best player ever to go through Tri-Central.
I mean, yeah, I'm a little biased. I played with him. He was, he was around my age. But I mean, we had Corey Dunn, we had Brett Bailey, we had Corey Fernung. So we had some really good guys. But yeah, I mean, he had, scored over 2,000 total points. I remember his senior year, us going to at the state game. Actually, I've watched that game once, and because I still can't bring myself to watch it again, but I watched it once. And I remember the announcer saying something because that year we had Matthew Bozell, who was a dead-eye shooter also.
Yes, he was.
And he was second. He was second in the state in free throw percentage at 98%, and Flitner was number one at 99%.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So there's just something in the water over there that just produced hoopers for over a decade, and just team after team after team that as a Rossville guy, I just tip my hat to. So much respect. And you mentioned Corey Dunn. I'm just so thankful that he's the coach of my alma mater at Rossville, and he really
you guys got a good one.
He's got and he's a heck of a coach, and he's got those kids playing hard, most importantly, and that's what our community wants, is just a bunch of kids that are going to come together and play hard, and he's doing a great job with them. And so, but yeah, so absolutely played with some dogs, and I want to know.
Well, and real quick, I want to stop it. A lot of the talent and stuff that went through there, a lot of the credit he's got to go to Coach Driggs.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't think he really gets the enough credit for everything that he did. Because I remember starting back when I was, elementary school again, when Corey was in high school and stuff, him running those summer camps, and he focused so much on the fundamentals at an early age.
That's what it takes.
Oh yeah, we were so fundamentally sound as a team, and everybody was that went through there. And the credit just goes to him. He put forth so much time and effort into the youth program at Tri-Central that by the time we got to high school, the skills were already developed. And that's arguably why we were able to build that program. So I just got to give him a shout out there. I don't know if he listens or not, but if so, thanks, Coach.
Absolutely. Yes, much respect for him. And I think a coach like him that gets a lot of talent, a lot of coaches like that don't get enough credit they deserve, because just the common fan says, any coach could have won with that team or whatever, but that coach has a tall task of bringing all those talented players together, and I tip my hat to Coach Driggs. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to go back to just what it meant to play at Tri-Central, and I'm a huge small town Indiana fan. There's not many towns in Indiana I don't know or haven't heard of, and I just describe to our listener just what it was like on game day at Tri-Central.
Man, I tried telling my kids about this now, because we got the chance 2 years ago to play at Tri-Central.
Oh, cool.
And so it was really cool going back there and everything. But and I've tried to find clips from when I was in high school and stuff that show like our student section, and I just can't find any anywhere. I don't know if people didn't know that YouTube existed back then or what, but like there's just not any clips that are out there right now of it. And but man, I mean, one whole side of the lower section just filled top to bottom of nothing but students. We used to have the wooden blocks that
Best
people.
student section in the state, listeners.
Oh
Like,
man, I mean,
unbelievable.
we won the Spirit
How,
Award.
how,
Like,
how many students were there? Would you guess?
I mean, because we allowed, it was high school and middle school. I mean, it was easily 250 to
That's what I was
300.
getting ready to say. I was thinking,
Yeah.
I was going to guess 300 or 400 students.
Yeah. And it's like just top to bottom of the entire one half of the gym's lower section, just full.
Yes.
We used to have little wooden blocks that they would bang.
Yep.
And then you had the pep band playing and
Everybody
everybody all organized, like cheers and stuff. It was just wild. And then we would do our pregame stuff, they all come out on the floor and create the tunnel that wraps around the entire gym.
Yep.
And man, it was just, I got goosebumps talking about it now because it just brings back all those memories. And one of the craziest, outside of our regional game at Frankfurt against LCC, one of the craziest games that I can remember personally was my senior year. We had lost everybody, right? We just made it to state. We had lost everybody. Coach Driggs retired. So Coach Layden stepped up. And me and Justin Huddleston were really the only two returning varsity players. First game of the year, we play Tipton every year. First game of the year.
Yep.
They got Elston, just signed with, just committed to IU.
Yep.
All this. Nobody's given us a shot to win this game. And I mean, this place is just packed. We got guys standing in the stairways under the basket. Like, their entire student section was there before the JV game, like an hour before. Like, the place is full already, just going crazy. And somehow, I still don't even know to this day how, but somehow we ended up pulling out a win in my senior year. And I mean, nobody was given, none of our, besides outside of our team and maybe our parents. Like, I mean, we had like Tri-Central fans telling us that we didn't have a chance to win this game. Like, but man, just something clicked that night. And it was just, I don't know, the atmosphere in it was just, I'll never forget it. Yeah, I'll never forget it.
Absolutely. That's so special. And man, it's just such a hotbed of good schools in central Indiana right there. And I love hearing those stories. And I want to hear another story. Just, I mean, like I said, from the outside looking in, I just tip my hat to you guys. You guys won the right way. You guys were just a bunch of boys that grew up together. This wasn't this wasn't a team that was put together in any sense of the word. You guys grew up together in that community, and I just loved that. So, man, we were rooting for you like crazy when we weren't playing against you guys. I remember a bunch of us Rossville boys, about 5 or 6 of us, at the LCC game.
I remember seeing you guys sitting there front row.
Yes, front row, rooting our tails off for you guys. And Grayson dropping 48 that night was just unbelievable. And I, for those of you that follow this podcast closely, I said that was my favorite game. I said with that game and Purdue versus Michigan State back in 2000 were my two favorite games I've ever been to. And so,
and that game, I've never, and so I'm gonna go into a little tangent here and a little story about that game.
Oh yeah.
All right. That game was single-handedly, it was the most impressive game that I've ever seen one individual play at any level. In person. I've seen videos and stuff and all that, but in person. Yes. And so going into that game, it's obviously the night game. We play University in the morning, and we take care of them. We come back. We get into Case Gymnasium. We get into our locker room, and a couple doors down is LCC's locker room.
Right.
And if you're not familiar with Grayson wasn't the super emotional type of guy, like super kind of reserved, just let his game do the talking.
Yes.
And we're in this locker room, and LCC's got music just blaring in their locker room.
Yeah.
They're loose. They're, whatever. We had played them earlier in the year, and they beat us by, I don't know, 15, something like that.
Sure.
And We're sitting there in the locker room, dead silent, just dead silent.
Yeah.
We start getting ready and everything. Coach Driggs comes in. We're all ready. Grayson's still sitting here in his sweatsuit, got headphones in with his hood up, just sitting there like this. Hasn't even gotten ready yet. Coach Driggs comes in to do his pregame talk. Grayson hasn't even gotten ready yet. We're just kind of looking around like, what the hell is going on? Coach Driggs starts to talk. Grayson stands up, puts his hood down, goes and grabs like the whiteboard or the chalk out of Coach Driggs' hand and just draws a heart on the board and circles it and looks at us and says, "That's what it's about tonight, boys."
No way.
I mean, I look over at my buddy and I'm like, let's go. Like,
right. I literally just got chills all over my body.
Oh my gosh, man. Like, just, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
That's fantastic.
Like, and then he goes out and he drops 48. Like,
yes.
he was not letting us lose that game. Like, he was on a mission.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, the previous year was the year with Driggs and Cunningham.
Yeah, and
we got ran over by.
Yes,
I got ran over by Holslinger. Yeah.
Yes, I was just getting ready to go there next. I was at the regional at Frankfurt as a fan, and that was a really you guys were 23-0.
Yeah.
Going and Jason Holsinger, tip my hat to him. He had 55.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like 55. And seeing him, that was another unbelievable performance that I'll never forget as well.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Flitner was not letting us lose that game. And I'll never forget that moment in the locker room. Like, just dead silent. Just walks up, just draws a heart and circles it. And I'm like.
And if you're a hooper listening to this today, that's what it means to compete. That's what we're about at Compete Training Academy. Is sometimes it just takes heart. And LCC was the more talented team.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we can all agree on that. But
absolutely,
you guys had more heart, and it's not always that that's what's so beautiful about March. It's not the best team doesn't always win. And
no, not at all.
That was an unbelievable game.
Yeah, it was.
Coach, I want to hear. That was an unbelievable story, and I want to hear one more. Give us one more story that no one knows about as an outsider like myself about Tri-Central, or maybe it was just an ultra competitive practice, open gym or workout with some of those guys like Flitner and Cunningham and Driggs. Just give us another story.
Yeah, so probably have some stories that I probably don't want to share on the podcast, but
you and I will chat that up at another time off the air.
Yeah. Especially with open gyms and stuff, where there's not really any coaches around. And back then it was a little different because we would have older guys that graduated come in and play and stuff. But the one that really sticks out to me was in practice. It was my freshman year. So I was playing JV, and a lot of the guys that were, I think it was my freshman year. A lot of the guys that were on that 06 team when we made it to state were playing JV as well because they were sophomores, with the exception of Flitner. And that year, we actually made it to semi-state and lost to Fort Wayne Blackhawk at Warsaw in 2004.
Right.
So we were a top 5 team also in that year as well. And we were getting ready in practice to scrimmage varsity. And our JV coach calls us over, and he's like a full scrimmage, like one quarter or a half, something like that. And our JV coach is like, bust your rear end and beat these guys. He's like, nobody's getting close to them. We got to push them. Like, they're just pushing you guys around, like, beat them. So I got all up in Driggs that practice, got him super frustrated and stuff. And the JV, we actually ended up beating them and in practice and in that scrimmage. And after it was over, Driggs called the varsity into the varsity locker room. And so we're shooting around the JV, and our JV coach comes over and he's like, all right, guys, just to give you a heads up, we're supposed to be doing this in practice next. That's not going to happen. We're going to scrimmage again. And he goes, just to warn you, he goes, it's going to be rough.
Yeah.
And they came out, and I mean, just destroyed us. I think it was like an 8-minute like scrimmage,
Yeah.
and it was probably like 30-2.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they just ratcheted it up. They pressed us the entire game. Like, they just destroyed us. And that was like, at that point, I think it clicked for them.
Right.
Like, it took us beating them to realize, oh man, like we just got beat by our JV guys. Like, if we just roll the ball out there and we don't play hard,
Right.
like we can lose to anybody.
Right.
And then they came out and they just ratcheted it up, and they're like, okay, if we play this way, yeah, let's go. Yeah. And that kind of led them into that like semi-state run after that. And yeah, they were just a special group of guys on that team.
Man, that's awesome. I'm jealous I wasn't a fly on the wall on one of those days. I would love to see that. And for those of you Hoopers listening, man, that's what it's about. That's what Indiana basketball is all about. And I hope you can hear the passion in Coach Ritchie's voice of him just playing for his hometown, playing for his brothers, growing up, just playing hard. That's what it means to compete. And Coach, you're now a varsity coach at Lakeland Christian. I want to hear a little bit of your training philosophy when it comes to player development. Here at CTA, we develop players all the way from kindergarten to professional players. And I'd just love to learn and hear more about your training philosophy when it comes to player development.
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in just pounding home the fundamentals, man. Just pounding them home. I was reading a book about Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
And talking about the 90s Bulls, that dynasty. And he basically said we were better than everybody else because we practiced the fundamentals, and we were better at the fundamentals than everybody else. Like, now, yeah, okay, you got Jordan and Pippen and Rodman on there. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
But he's like, if it's good enough for us, where we know that we need to practice fundamentals every day in practice, like it's good for anybody. And that kind of hit home. And then growing up watching the NBA and the Spurs dynasty, they were kind of the same thing. I mean, Tim Duncan's nickname, the big fundamental.
That's right.
And it's just if you can really hammer down the fundamentals, everything else in the game, I truly believe, becomes easier. And you can't take. Sometimes guys want to skip steps 1 and 2 and just jump to step 3. And you can't get to step 3 without getting to step 1 and building that way. And it's just kind of like building blocks, man. You start at ground zero and just build your way up. You can't go out there and, watch Kyrie Irving with his handles and just go out there and do it, so I really, really hammer that down. And here recently been trying to hammer down just foot speed, foot quickness. Like it's a very important aspect of the game that a lot of people don't pay attention to.
Absolutely.
And man, if you got the ball and you got a quick first step, it doesn't matter how fast you are.
Yep.
That first step is what gets you the advantage. And for kids today, look at Luka. Look at Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Dude never looks like he's going fast. And you can't tell me he's one of the 50 fastest guys in the NBA.
Right.
But he's got a first quick step, and it gets the guy on his hip, and he knows how to handle it then. So and then same thing on defensively, man. Like if you got quick feet and you can move your feet side to side, keep a guy in front of you, there's going to be a spot for you on the floor.
Yes.
So fundamentals with the basketball and then just foot speed really are the two things that I really, really try and hammer home to my guys.
Absolutely. And I don't think you can preach fundamentals enough. That's what we're about at Compete Training Academy as well. And it's amazing how many programs you talk to that don't spend time on it. And it's so encouraging. I love hearing coaches that that's what they're all about. Coach, as a leader of young men, tell us one quality a leader absolutely must have. And so I know this is a really tough question, but I love asking high-level leaders like yourself, if you could choose one quality, what would it be?
I kind of I racked my brain on this one, trying to find just one. But the biggest thing that I kept coming back to was honestly humility. Man, you gotta have some humility. Like, we're not all perfect. You know, you're not a perfect basketball player. You're not a perfect individual, you know? And so if you're able to own up to your mistakes and really wear those as a leader, I think you're going to gain respect from everybody else on the floor, because everybody's first reaction when is, well, nah, man, like just own up to it, make the correction, and then you're not going to make it again.
Right.
And as a leader, if you're able to do that, everybody else is going to follow. Like those excuses stop. Everybody's like, "You're right. That's my bad. Let's take it and let's roll." Like, so it's just that's the biggest thing that I just kept coming back to was you got to be able to have humility.
Man, that's awesome. We just had Coach Ryan Cottingham, who's Spring Arbor's head coach in the NAIA, and that was the one quality he said as well. And so that's
Oh,
really
okay.
cool. And I think I would agree. It's a great quality to have, and it's so true. When you're a humble person, you gain the respect of those around you. Uh, Coach,
Yeah,
as we kind of wrap up this podcast, who would you say is going to win the NCAA tournament this year?
man. I don't see anybody beating Gonzaga right now.
I know.
The way that they're playing is it's just lights out. I mean, they're gonna have a battle. They're gonna have a battle on Tuesday against USC. USC's hot right now, and I just saw a stat. Gonzaga is the number one 2-point percentage team ever in college basketball. Like their 2-point percentage is higher than any other team ever, and USC has the lowest or the best 2-point percentage defense ever in college basketball.
Right.
So two totally different styles. But I even think on a bad day, Gonzaga scoring 80 points, 75 points. Like, I really thought the only team that could probably score with them was Alabama.
Right.
And then Alabama had a cold shooting night last night that really cost them, along with free throws. But I think it's got to be either Gonzaga or Michigan right now, but I'm going to stick with Gonzaga. Like,
So
I don't see anybody as a Hoosier.
that's
As
what I
a
was getting
Hoosier,
ready to ask. Yeah.
I don't like saying it because my 76 Hoosiers. Not that I wasn't alive then, but they're still my Hoosiers. So
Yep.
I think they might have some. I think they might have some company after this year. I really do.
Yes, and it's been an unbelievable tournament already. I don't think there's a perfect bracket left. I know mine's
No,
absolute trash, but Coach, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today. It was just so fun chopping it up, talking about the good old days and the golden years of Tri Central basketball. And I hope if you're a Tri Central or Rossville fan, I hope you enjoyed this as well. And I definitely tip my hat to just the Tri Central basketball program and all the dudes that went up through that program, and just from afar, loved how you played the game and loved what you stood for and how you played for your town and the effort that you brought to the game. That's what it means to compete at Compete Training Academy. That's what we value: how hard you play, the things you can control. And that's what Tri Central basketball is all about. So, Coach, thanks for coming on. Compete Training Academy family, always remember that competing is doing what God is calling you to do, even when it's hard.